Congratulations, you've chosen the violin. It is an amazing instrument, and there's so many different options out there. And I'm sure you've seen them. You look it up, you look at violin, maybe the first one, but then you get into it and you find out that there's just so many out there. And that's why my job here is to help you get the right one. So stick around. We're going to be going over all the right brands, sizing, and kind of tips and tricks to make sure that you or your prospective student get the right one. Stick around. Howdy everybody, my name is Andrew King. We are here at Alamo Music. Don't forget to visit us at alamomusic.com where we have these instruments and so many more accessories available for you to check out. Today we are going to be talking about violins and going into purchasing your first violin or making sure you get the right one in that case, because there's a lot more to it than meets the eye. Now, usually with an instrument such as like a flute, saxophone, trumpet, trombone, it's basically a one-size-fits-all. And you don't have to really worry about getting the right one except for like brands and price points and used, new, all that kind of stuff. So it's really easy to just kind of go walking in, find the one that's on the list and go for it. But with violins and most of these orchestral instruments in general, such as the viola, the cello, the bass, there's gonna be a lot more to it, and you kind of have to take a more nuanced approach to find the right one for maybe you or the child that's gonna be going into the instrument. Now here in San Antonio, typically the student will start in 5th grade in elementary school with an after-school strings program that's gonna be the one that kind of takes them and helps them approach getting into 6th grade orchestra a little more easier, they learn how to read music, how to get into it, and it's basically a great way to kind of acclimate oneself to learning music and being in a band program or an orchestra program before they hit the middle school track and go all the way to marching band and high school and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to that, there's going to be a couple things to keep in mind when looking for the next violin. And the biggest one is the size of it. Now, violins are typically going to be sized in quarter sizes. They're going to be starting on the quarter, half, 3/4, and the full size, or the 4/4 size. If you look it up, I'll say on like our website at alamomusic.com. And you want to make sure you get the right one, because there's a couple things to it when it comes to holding the violin that not a lot of people think about when it comes to it. And the reason being is that violin is one of those instruments that actually really take a lot of energy to hold up, especially for a shorter person. And the reason being is that when you're holding on to the violin and everything like that and making sure you're doing it right, you want to make sure that you're at a good angle to hold it, much as like a 90-degree angle as possible, or even a little shorter, because you want to be comfortable holding the instrument. The problem is if you're a little guy and you're going into it and you're holding a really big instrument, you end up having to hold it like this, and this is super uncomfortable. Or maybe you're taller and you end up getting a smaller size on accident. You end up having to scrunch in and keep it holding right here. And so there's a lot of things to that you want to make sure happens for the student, because if the student is learning the instruments, they like learning the violin on a smaller size, or the wrong size for that matter, they're going to learn bad habits as far as holding instrument and constrain certain muscles that are not designed to be doing that in the first place. You can end up hurting yourself over a long period of time, learning bad habits so you don't play the instrument properly, or just end up basically not liking the instrument in general because it's just a pain to play. So you want to make sure you get the right one. The way to circumvent that is to go to your local music store when you have the student. You're going to have a band supply sheet from probably the orchestra director or maybe the elementary music teacher that's doing the after-school strings program, and you want to make sure that you get the right one from that store. Most band and orchestra stores are going to have employees there that are going to be able to size the instrument to the child, and that usually comes up from being able to put their arm out and size the instrument to the student, make sure they're getting the appropriate one, and then make sure that's the one that you get and have for the foreseeable future. Now, I can understand another take from this. If I'm going to have to buy a smaller size violin, what happens when they start to grow? Because kids are going to grow over a long period of time. And that's why it's going to be really important, if you're going to be doing that, to remember that a lot of these instruments are going to be purchased on what's called a rent-to-own plan. And a rent-to-own plan is basically this. You put down rental payments that'll cover it'll basically cover a lot of things like the payments themselves, of course, on the instrument. You're going to be able to get insurance on it, so anything like accidental damage, normal wear and tear, replacing the instrument in certain cases, all that kind of stuff is going to be covered by those things. And then you're also going to be like doing the tax and whatnot, and so that also works out. But the big reason for it is because when it comes to those payments that you make on the instrument and everything, you want to be able to switch sizes going forward, right? So the biggest recommendation that I make to most customers that come in, or anyone that's going to get into the violin, especially with like a 10-year-old, right? Especially if you're like a 10-year-old girl, they're going to be growing real quick. 10-year-old boy or anything like that, they're going to be growing really quickly going into the full size, especially starting at 9 or 10 years old. So you want to make sure you get the right one in that case. So what you can do is do the rent to own plan, get the instrument, right? Say you're getting like a half size or a 3/4. Then when they go and grow and everything, you bring the instrument back to the store, and then you can upgrade to the next model or the next size appropriate to the student's size. So if they're going to be growing and everything like that, you can keep that, and you get to retain all 100% of the credit towards the next instrument, maybe minus tax and stuff like that. So that's what makes that a really good choice for most families that are going to be getting into the instrument with a small child. You'd be able to be switch the instrument, upgrade, and then when you finally hit that full-size instrument, you get onto that really good sweet spot where you've been making payments over the last 2, 3, 4 years and everything, and you'll be able to just pay off that instrument and own it completely once the instrument's in the kid's hands. So it just works out. It makes it easier over the time. You don't have to invest into multiple violins. You don't have to worry about selling them later or anything like that to get the next one, or just having a lot of instruments that frankly, not a lot of people in your home is going to be able to play anymore, unless you want to have the hand-me-downs for the next kid or something like that, right? So that's something to look out for. Some of the accessories that you're going to be getting as well is going to be necessary. Now, the violin in particular is a very special instrument. It's not like a guitar where it has frets and whatnot, so you're going to have to get certain things to make it so it's easier for the child to play, and that usually is going to be something in the form of fret markers. It's a long sticker that you can put on there. Some teachers are going to put on some kind of tape material to maybe it's basically going to have it so the kid can go ahead or you can have so they can put their fingers in the right places when they play and learn. Over time, it's kind of like training wheels. You take one off at a time and everything once they get more acclimated to playing the instrument. So you can make sure that the instrument is kind of right for them as they go. Now, the other big thing is that as you size up and everything, the fret markers are going to change. So I usually recommend, if you're going to be going into it with a small child, keeping the fret markers on until the full size, and then having them use the full size fret markers over a long period of time, just so they can get used to that size difference. They're scaled differently to different notes and everything. All the sizes take different kind of strings, different kind of stickers, different kind of measurements. So you're going to have to kind of keep that up. I recommend if you go into it, just kind of buy one string at a time. Don't just buy the full pack right away or anything like that. Sometimes the kid will grow before you ever need to get that next pack of strings. So you end up like keeping a pack of like half-size violin strings, and you get into the 3/4 and it's like, oh, I don't really even need these anymore. I might as well just donate them to the school or stuff like that. So it's definitely something to keep in mind when you're going into it. Big thing on these instruments is I'm going to really recommend staying away from websites such as Amazon or anything like that, or maybe even eBay in that case. You really want to make sure that you get something that's going to be prepped for the child or for you in that matter. And the big thing is violin is probably one of the most popular instruments in the world, and so a lot of people are making a lot of very varied quality instruments depending on what you look for. If you go on Amazon and you just look up violin and check out what they have there, you're going to find some pretty attractive prices from a lot of companies. You're going to find like $50 ones, $100 ones. Ooh, this one's like $175 and it comes with electronics, and this one's there's going to be a lot of stuff to look for. If you're looking for an instrument that you're going to be able to invest yourself into over a long period of time, I highly recommend sticking with brands from local music stores or ones that are recommended by your local school. Anything having to do with Yamaha is always great, Eastman, Maple Leaf, a lot of these kind of companies that make very good quality instruments over a long period of time, they are made to last. So you want to make sure you get one that's going to be have a good longevity to them. They're going to have good parts, good wood. They're going to be very resonant, easy to set up. Most stores are going to carry them too and have parts available for those set instruments, so you don't even have to worry about like repairs or anything like that in the long run. So it's always a good idea to do that. Plus, their quality is going to be loads better than anything else out there, like say on Amazon under like that $250 range. So you want to make sure that you get the right one. I recommend any of those brands that I was talking about earlier, especially because of the case of longevity. So with that being said, just make sure that you're looking for the right one and make some educated choices. That's what we're here for. So if you have any questions or anything like that, please get down in the comments. If you have any questions about certain kind of brands, what to get, maybe what kind of instrument is the right one for you, anything like that. I think violin is a gorgeous instrument, and it's one of those ones that have such a varied tree of history during so many different kind of genres, especially nowadays with all the kinds of things you can do with like pickups and electronics. Violin is just an absolutely gorgeous instrument, and I'm very excited to see that a lot of people are getting into them. So let me know, get in the comments, let me know which kind of instrument you're going for, and I will see you next time. Thank you so much.